I'm not nearly as optimistic about the world in the future as I used to be. And I don't know if that's because of the absence of the Grateful Dead, me being able to go that. I still listen to the Grateful Dead. I still watch videos of the Grateful Dead, and it's wonderful, and it really is satisfying to me. But the world is a strange and disappointing place right now, I'd say, in 2014. When I was seeing the Grateful Dead, things were slower than they are now, because as the pace of change continues to accelerate. But I'm not sure that perhaps the Grateful Dead weren't an antidote to the universe, if you will, to the state of affairs, certainly in the U.S. Jerry said, this was the last place you could really go off and join the circus. You could follow the Grateful Dead around. It was an escape from the mundane world of having to do things, and which I did my share of business in corporate America. But the Grateful Dead was this release, and Joseph Campbell, the famous professor of mythology and so forth, went to see the Grateful Dead. And it was marvelous how the Grateful Dead would bring these people in and get connected to these brilliant minds who saw the world in different ways. And after Campbell saw the Grateful Dead, he said, wow, this is the antidote to the nuclear age. And so as the Grateful Dead performed 75 or 80 shows a year for 30 years, I think they were pouring that joy, that positive energy, not just from their music, but from the larger growth of the Deadhead community that was either there with them in person as they performed these shows 75, 80 times a year, or listening to their music, or sharing this passion and the ethos that they brought to the Deadhead community, which then spread out. And so the loss of the Grateful Dead, even though there is a legacy of their music and there is a legacy of Deadheads, older ones who were there at the time, like me, we're still trying to get that out there, but it's harder because the Dead isn't there, and we're not being fed by that wonderful, wonderful experience. The offshoot bands are great. I love them. It's just not the same. There's nothing like a Grateful Dead concert. Never was, never will be. And I think the world is a less happy place, perhaps. It certainly is for me, and I suspect that on a grander scale, it's true in the same way. Not, are you kind? That's another tagline for the Grateful Dead and Deadheads. Are you kind? It's not so kind anymore. Disappointing.